Okay, well, as promised, today we're going to cover tools. Basic tools, tools that are very, very necessary when you have an RV and you plan on doing a lot of traveling or even just a little traveling. We're going to go over some of the very, very basic of tools, including screwdrivers and a couple other things that you see out here. And I'm going to show you some of the details that are important when you're using them or when they have been used quite a bit. This camera doesn't always like to focus, and so some things might be out of focus. If you have any other questions or anything like that, please let me know, leave it in the comments, and I'll try and answer your questions as soon as possible. So let me move that camera a little bit closer and we'll get into the details. Alright, I hope that's focused. Anyway, one of the first things that we're going to get into are screwdrivers. Screwdrivers are an essential part of any toolbox. They come in various sizes and various pitches and just all kinds of variables. You want to use the right size for the job. Quality screwdrivers will last longer, but some of them are a bit overkill as far as cost goes. Like if you try and buy a SnapOn or something like that, they're just ridiculous. This one is an S&K, which is a very good name brand, and I got these really cheap off of eBay a couple of years ago. And this same thing on SnapOn is probably 30 or 40 bucks for one, and I think I got like 5 of them for 20 bucks or something like that. So you know, there are good deals to be had out there. Anyway, the flathead screwdrivers are sized according to the head that's on it. So you'll see that some of them are considered a 1/4 inch or a 5/16 of an inch, okay, or a 3/16 of an inch. So that's one of the differences I'll show you here between your flathead screwdrivers and your Phillips head screwdrivers. The other thing I wanted to bring up was the shape of your screwdrivers. Most of your screwdrivers have a, I'm not even sure how you would call that, but on the outside it's a bit beveled, okay, whereas the base of it is wider than the actual head of it. They do that for strength. So anyway, sometimes you need a screwdriver that does not have that shoulder, because there are times when you will have to go in through a hole, and if the hole is only so big, you want to make sure that your screwdriver isn't too big. Okay, so that's very important to know depending on what systems you're looking at. Like a couple days ago I was working on my solar controller, and so I needed to make sure that my screwdrivers fit correctly. Okay, so your flathead tip screwdrivers go by the size of the head in inches or that type of measurement, unlike your Phillips head screwdrivers. The reason I bring that up, here again, they all come in different sizes, different shapes, things like that. Okay, your most common is your number 2. They are numbered. Your Phillips head screwdrivers are numbered, okay? A lot of your other tools are numbered also, but we're just going to cover screwdrivers right now. So your number 2 is your common Phillips head screwdriver size. Very, very common. Your number 1 is the smaller of the two, okay? So your number 1 is smaller, your number 2 is the normal size, and then if you have to go bigger, this is a number 3, okay? Lots of times they're used in heavier construction applications or heavy equipment applications, which is where I learned about diesels and things of that nature. When you're working on big trailers, they will have countersunk screws that are a Phillips head, usually a number 3. Okay, so just wanted to cover that for you. On your Phillips heads, 99.9% of them, the shank will be the same size as your head. So you don't have to worry about the shoulder like you would on a flat tip screwdriver. Okay? So, your number 2 is your most common. Many tools are multi-purpose. This just happens to be a Snap-on ratcheting screwdriver, or should I say a driver, because you can use it for a host of things. You can put a Phillips head tip in there, okay? Or another one that's very, very common in motorhomes is your Robertson's head tip, which is a square tip. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, you can put that in there. All right. Now, these come in handy. Not only do they ratchet in both directions, adjustable. Okay, so you can use them in both directions. They also come apart where you can actually put spare bits in here and a variety of bits. You can put your different sizes, you know, a number 1 and a number 2 Phillips. You can go with your 3/16 of an inch flathead, a 1/4 inch flathead, and your 5/16 flathead. If they're not too long, it gives you about 4 inches in here to put them in. So that's a nice option. Snap-on also uses an O-ring, so it's pretty much waterproof, or should I say water resistant. I wouldn't go so far as call it waterproof. Okay, because anytime you got a movement like ratcheting, you know, they can leak water through any of these things. So anyway, but the storage has a water resistant plug. Now this one is called an offset. This particular one is an offset Phillips head. Okay, and the offset is just like what you're thinking. It's because of this. You've got a number 2 over here and a number 1 over here. So they're very versatile. What's great about these things is sometimes you don't have much room to get somewhere, so you can get it up in there and then work it little by little. Okay, so they come in really handy when you need them. So that's always handy to have in your toolbox. Everything I'm showing you, you should have in your basic toolbox. This is optional, but you definitely need everything else that I'm showing you today. Another bit that you'll see occasionally, certainly not as often as your Robertson bit, is a Torx head. The Torx head, some people call them a star head, and there's a couple different kinds. This particular type uses a Torx socket head, so this goes into the head of the screw. You also have some that are security type, and they'll have a hole in the middle, and you'll see that at the store, and my other tools have those things, and those are for security Torx head screws. You'll see them used lots of times in the restrooms and things like that, at restaurants and things like that, where the public has access to it, but you don't want the public to be able to take them apart and put them in whatever, mess them up. So they'll use security type screws. Anyway, so your Torx head is one of those that's kind of a weird, unusual one, but there's no substitute for it. If you've got Torx head screws, you cannot use a Phillips head on there. You probably cannot use a straight head flat tip screwdriver on there. So you really got to have the Torx head, and you have to have the right size. They too are numbered, and they start with a T because they are a Torx, T-O-R-X, which I believe is the person who has the patent on it. And so anyway, so they come in different sizes. I believe this one is a T20 or a 25. Normally it'll have it indicated on there somewhere. And you can see I buy my tools wherever it's convenient for me. I'm not one of these guys that has to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on screwdrivers. I had a friend who actually spent like close to $2,000 on a set of Snap-on wrenches. To me, that's stupid. I mean, the vehicles you work on don't care what tools you have. Okay, that's my opinion. Okay. Anyway, moving along. These are adjustable pliers. Some of them actually, some people call them channel locks because they do have a bit of a channel. That's where your adjustability comes in. Okay. And these are extra large. I like these. These come in handy for a lot of different things. You can use them for a lot of different things. Let me check my recording and make sure it's still going. This darn camera has a tendency to shut off on me occasionally. Alright, looks like it's still going, so let's keep on going. Alright, so people call these channel locks. Channel is a brand name. Okay, it's a separate company. These are adjustable pliers. Alright. Channel just happens to be one of the manufacturers, probably the most famous, or maybe even one of the first ones, I don't know, but definitely one of the biggest ones. A very good product, very good, very high quality product. But here, the important thing is to get something that's good and reliable, and that's going to work for what you do. And like I said, I used to work on heavy equipment, and that's why I have these big ones. But they come in handy for a lot of different things. A lot of different things. Okay? Now, this is just the opposite of that as far as size goes. This is your adjustable wrench. Here again, some people call it a crescent wrench. That is not always accurate because crescent is a manufacturer. Okay, this is an adjustable wrench. This is one of the ones that I see people misusing quite often. You can use these, whenever you need to, but the important thing here is that because they're adjustable, they're not as strong usually as your other wrenches. So what's important is that you make sure that you use the strong side of any wrench, okay, which is the bigger side, which means whichever way you're turning your nut or bolt head, use the strong side to push against it. Don't use the weak side to push against it, because then you might break it here, because these pawls and teeth in here, they're not the strongest part. This bigger part is where your strength is. So if you're pushing it this way, make sure this is up on top so you're pushing it. If you're pulling it up, go this way. Do not push it down this way, because then you're pushing against the weak part. Okay, so you might break your tool and you might hurt yourself. Okay, well, let's try it again. Darn camera shut off on me as it does. Anyway, these are called pipe wrenches. These can be used on a multitude of items. You can use them on almost any material. What you have to keep in mind though is that these are not gentle, okay? So if you're going to be using in an area that's visible to yourself often, every day, you probably don't want to use this. Or if you do, you can put something in there to protect it, because these teeth are brutal. When they grab onto a piece of steel, and if it's hard to turn, these will bite into it. That's why they're called pipe wrenches, because a pipe is round and it's fairly smooth. And so you need something that's going to bite into it in order to turn it. Okay? Again, very adjustable, which is really nice. Okay? And here again, just because it's built for pipes doesn't mean that's the only thing you can use it on. You can use this on anything, whatever you might want to use it on. You can use it to hold a bolt head if you want to, but just keep in mind that whatever this bites onto, it could possibly destroy it. So if you're working on a bolt head that you're putting on, you probably don't want to use this. But if it's an old bolt that you're going to throw away anyway, then yes, then you can use something like this, because it will tear it up. So you need to be very careful with these items. Here again, these are meant to go this way, okay? You don't put it on something and then pull up on it like that. That's not the way they work, okay? There's something here, and you push up against this. Or if you're on the other side, pull up against it, okay? If you need to loosen something, it's just the opposite. You pull up against it, but this side right here is your strength. Remember I was talking about using the strong part of the tool. If you use it the other direction, it won't work, because these teeth on here are built to grab a certain way. which means they don't grab the other way, okay? So, that's what that is. Okay. Now, this, everybody knows what this is. This is a small sledgehammer. I think it's a 3-pound or something, I don't know, anyway. Had a long handle on it. One of my mentors that was training me in my apprenticeship program told me to cut the handle off and serrate it. And that was about 15 years ago. It's been working great ever since. The handle was about this long. He said that's too long for what we work on, and serrate it, because when you're working on heavy equipment, whether it's hydraulics or whatever, your hands get oily, your gloves get oily, whatever, it gets slippery, so you want to serrate it so this way it doesn't slip off your hand while you're using it. Okay? So, using a steel hammer comes in handy in a multitude of items. Many, many different ways to use it. It takes practice, just like anything else. I wanted to go over this one here. Oh, it's a little windy now, darn it. Gosh. Okay, hopefully the wind is going to stay died down here for a few minutes anyway. Let me get this video finished up. We were talking about hammers. This particular one is neat because it's got replaceable heads. Also, you can buy these in different densities. This is a rubber head, okay? And the reason you would use a rubber head is when you want to manipulate something like sheet metal or things like that. You want to manipulate it and shape it, but you don't want to mar it. You don't want to scratch all the paint off and things like that. So if it's real thin steel, rubber or plastic are the best things to use. Okay, so this way you're not scratching it all up, even though you're manipulating it and shaping it to what you desire. Okay, and the next thing I wanted to talk about was flashlights. You got to have a multitude of flashlights, especially if you're out in the wilderness. You need to have small ones because there's times when you're going to be underneath your vehicle or underneath your floorboard or the dashboard or inside looking at a water heater or something where you need a small flashlight to be able to get in there. And it's always nice to have a small flashlight to be able to get into places, and then you're going to need a bigger one for other jobs. Okay, so I have another one also that's rechargeable. Some of them use batteries. So they're just great things that you have to have. Now, essential for every RVer, you've got to have a power driver. Some people call them a drill driver, some people call them an impact wrench. This particular one is not an impact wrench, okay? This is a drill driver. It's a 2-speed DeWalt. You got one for speed, which is for drilling holes in steel. You've got a slow speed, which is built for torque, in case you got to do something that takes a lot of power. This particular one is an older one. It's an 18 volt. They have 20s and 24s now, maybe even more. This particular one is a little bit big because that's what they had when I bought them 5, 6, 7 years ago, and this thing's been working great. I love this thing. If you're doing a bigger job, it's nice to have 2 of them. When I was building a porch, a giant roof, 16-foot by 44-foot porch, covered porch, I had one of these that had a drill bit in it and another one that had the screw head in it. And this way, I can drill all my holes, set it down, grab the other one, and boom, put in all my screws, and then move along, and boom. So it's real nice to have 2 of them. I have 2 or 3 of them, I don't know. Anyway, so you've got to have one of these. It's got to be reversible, okay? They're adjustable as far as torque goes. Like a lot of these walls inside of this thing are very, very thin, so you can adjust it. I don't know if you can see the numbers on here, 3, 5. So you can actually adjust it to really light. Oops, go the other way. So when you're putting screws in the walls, it only puts so much torque on there. The higher the number, the more torque it's going to put on there. Okay? So you just keep cranking it up depending on how tight you need it. It's got a drill thing right here where it will not stop unless the battery's low. Okay? So, got to have one of these. Got to. And what's great about these is the tips are replaceable, you know. And let's see, where's my Robertson? Right here, look at that. Okay, put that in there right there, and now you're ready to go. You take stuff apart, boom, Okay, put it all back together. Reuse your screws if they're in good shape. And what's important about these also is when you do stuff inside the motorhome, you want to make sure you don't over torque your screws. This thing is really powerful. If you're putting stuff on the inside, make sure you put it on a really low number, or don't use it for the whole job. Use it to get the screw in 95%, and then do the last little bit by yourself by hand. Okay. One other thing I almost forgot: safety glasses. Anytime you're doing stuff, especially if things are going to be flying, no matter whether it's wood, metal, plastic, what have you. If you're using power tools, like a few minutes ago, I was helping Mike, and we were using a grinder to grind down some steel off his golf cart. You gotta wear safety glasses. Always, always. Even if all you're doing is inspecting. If you're getting underneath the vehicle and looking up, okay, you've got to have safety glasses on. Even if you're just in there with a flashlight looking at things, just to inspect for, whatever, wear safety glasses anytime you're looking up, because stuff will fall. I mean, you just barely touch it. Sometimes you just breathe on it and stuff will fall. You don't want it falling in your eyes, especially if it's got road grime, road salts, oils, gasolines, fuels, rubber. Just all this crap that you see on the road comes off of cars. The stuff from the road sticks to cars or vehicles. When you're underneath there, all that stuff falls in your face. So wear safety glasses, please. Other major jobs that you might be doing, whether it's changing a tire, changing your oil, whatever, wear gloves. Okay? I've seen so many mechanics that did not wear gloves for the last 25 years. Their hands are cracked and bleeding and just really tore up. And so always protect yourself. Wear protective clothing. Okay? Regular reading glasses, because I need that for the detail. And I think that's it for right now. I'm going to go ahead and shut this video down. It's been long enough. I'm sure it's been over 15 minutes. Hopefully I won't have to edit it too much, because I really hate editing. Anyway, if you guys have any more questions, we'll be doing this again next week. I'll pull out another set of tools and go over them, their purpose, use, and how to use them, and how to take care of them. And that's all for now. So thank you for joining me. I am Joe on the Go, your RV Tech. And please join me if you want to email me. I'm joeonthegorvtech@gmail.com. Send me questions, or anything that you would like to see in the future in videos. So yeah, please. Thank you for coming along and joining the crew. And subscribe, please. Share, like, and subscribe. Thanks. Bye-bye.